All right, let's look at this. I don't even know who the fuck this bitch is. Some musician. Little Boots gets stuck on repeat all over again on broken record. Same thing I've been telling you guys. What do you think this Alpha and Omega stuff is? It's the beginning and it's the end. They meet at a point. That's why it says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Because it's a circle. That's what this whole Saturn thing represents. It's a big ass freaking circle. It's a cycle. It's a movement. It's gears. Alright? It's these fucks that have got us locked in here. This is what Jesus was yelling at the Pharisees for. He said, you guys don't want to get out of here. What's even fucking worse is you won't let those guys out of here. And if you remember the movie The Matrix, at the very end, what did the Oracle say to the great architect? And incidentally, Saturn is the great architect. Okay? What did the Oracle, which was the black woman in The Matrix, say to the great architect? Are you going to let him go? And what did the great architect say? What did the architect say? He said, of course I will. I'll keep my word. What do you think I am, human? See, this is the whole thing. We're being lied to. We're being stuck here. We're stuck in a broken record all over again, just like they're saying right there. Except they like it. Obviously they must, or they wouldn't keep doing this shit. Biblically, the Bible said, if you ask for forgiveness, it'll be given to you. What if you can't remember what you did? Yeah? Dr. Oz, interesting name, Oz, because Oz, from the Wizard of Oz, was a demon called Iowas, which was affiliated with Crowley. Okay, so we'll leave that alone, but just Oz, that's where that comes from. Okay? So, when we think about what Dr. Oz, do you really think he's telling you the truth? But biblically, if you can't remember what you did wrong, to ask for forgiveness, because it's as simple as that, it really is, then you can't be forgiven for it. See, now people are going to say, well, asking for forgiveness is a blanket statement. I'm not so sure that's true in the aspect that it's being laid out. So simplistic in that manner. We live in the fucking Twilight Zone. That's what this place is. We're not really dead, but we're not alive either. You have an illusion that you're living. Because you move your arms and your legs and you cry and you feel. Those are all part of your punishment, basically. Because that's what the wailing and gnashing of teeth is that you have to feel these things. Okay? And so, Dr. Oz did a special thing that said if you have deja vu, you need to get medication or you need to see a psychiatrist. Now, that's because I think we're at a critical juncture here where they don't want you to remember who you are. Because if you remember who you are, then you can ask for forgiveness and you can get the fuck out of here. Now, the whole thing with Jesus is that Jesus already did this one time. If you go read, when he went down, he released those people from their holdings. That's where we're at. See, because remember when Jesus died, he went down into hell and ministered unto them. Well, why would he go down to minister a bunch of demons? See, you're coming around to where we're at, because we're not demons. But there are demons here. And so then they were released and they left. And then it said Jesus is ascended and went back where he came from. But when Jesus was in his earthly form, he told the Pharisees, not only do you not want to get out of here, but you lie to them so they can't get out of here. So we're kind of in the land of the dead, but you're not dead. You have the illusion that you're alive. So this is, so if it's as simple as asking for forgiveness, which it is, you have to know what you did to ask for forgiveness. Because forgiveness, there has to be a sincerity that goes with it. Because to say, oh, forgive me for what I've done, and there's no sincerity, believe me, it doesn't work that way. There has to be honest and sincere repentance. But if you don't know what you did to ask for this forgiveness and the repentance, then you're not forgiven for it. There was something that happened a long, long time ago. Okay, it was the fall of the first Earth Age. That's why you're here in jail in a suit of flesh. We did something wrong. We're the bad guys in a roundabout way. But we don't remember what we did because we were cast into the sea of forgetfulness. And that part of washing your mind is keeping you from getting the fuck out of here. And so Dr. Oz does a whole hour thing on, deja vu, and brings all these experts in. Now, why is a doctor doing a thing on deja vu when he's not even a psychiatrist? It's because they don't want you to remember. And the very next day, Fox News comes out with a thing that says never remember. It's a keychain thing that has all your information on it, and you never have to remember. Because we're at a very critical junction here, and this is what a lot of this chaos is to keep your mind busy from remembering who you were. Because if you remember who you were, that's equivalent to what these idiots want to call waking up. If you remember who you are, you'll remember what happened, and when you remember what happened, that's the key. See, the Bible can be interpreted a bunch of different ways. But all it is, there's a lot of lying going on here. You need to remember who you were. It's imperative. You know, it's like beat the clock. Figure out who you were before it comes back around, because otherwise you're going to be stuck in here for another cycle. Jesus is absolutely right. All that stuff about him was true, with the exception of the way they portray him as some namby-pamby, long-haired dude running around hanging out with kids. No, first of all, Jesus was a Nazarene, which means his hair was short. He wouldn't have long hair, because what does long hair on a man represent? It represents androgyny. That means Jesus would have had to have been one of them. And one of the ones keeps pushing that Jesus was an angel. Jesus wasn't an angel, because in order for him to conquer human emotion and to beat this thing at its own game, he had to play by its rules, which means sadness, happy, joy, not giving in, having to face the same thing that all of us do every fucking day, except beating it. See, that's the thing. Jesus beat the machine. But if the rules of the game have been changed, and you don't know how to play the game, then you'll never win. Because you're only being given certain parts of the instruction manual on how this thing works. And that's where those that are in the know have kept that shit secret from the rest of the public, because they don't want you getting out of here. So whether you understand that fully or not, or whether this bothers you in a religious context, it shouldn't. Because we've been lied to by so much, by so many, about so much shit, while they in the background work their ways and mold and try and make man in their image, instead of in the image of the Father, the Creator. See, it appears to me that this is a hands-off type of a deal, because he can't interfere, and he won't. So, you know, people can scream and say, well, if God exists, why do little babies die? Because we live in a third-dimensional world where that's part of your punishment. Wondering why things happen and not knowing why they happen. We live in a third-dimensional world with third-dimensional consequences. If you step in front of a bus, chances are you'll get to the next stop, but you're going to be dead when you get there. Okay, it's called cause and effect. One thing, the cause and the effect, they work together. If you're born into a third-dimensional body and you get sick and you die, it's the way it works. It's the way it's programmed. So, you know, if you don't get told the truth about the entire game, it's very hard to play the game. And if you can't play the game, you can never win. Look at any courtroom. I made this mistake one time. I went into court and I defended myself. And every word that came out of my mouth was an objection, because I didn't understand the rules of the game. In the courtroom, when you defend yourself or you act as your own attorney, everything must be poised as a question. Because if you put it in any other fashion, it becomes a statement, and statements have to be based on facts, and because you can't back it up with fact, in the same moment that you're backing it up with a statement, it's objectionable, and the judge, whether he likes you or not, and the judge did like me, he still has to rule in the favor of the prosecutor. And as the court went on, everything I said, the woman objected and overruled me. And finally, when she objected about the 50th time, I looked at her and I said, "Lady, I'm getting my ass kicked here. You're going to win, so just cool it." And the judge laughed, and he just said, "Mr. Geezer, you sure you don't want an attorney?" And I said, "No, Judge, I can handle the loss. And I lost. And it was just a $100 fine, but it was the principle of the thing. It's the same thing on a bigger scale. They're not telling us the truth about everything. I guarantee you you're not. But I can see little glimpses of what's going on behind through colors and numbers and that type of stuff. But I'm far, far from knowing what's really going on here. But I can see patterns, and I can see catchphrases and word phrases and things like that. And if you know what the big scheme is to keep everybody here. Because without us, it's no fun for them. It's very lonely because they don't want to get out. Or maybe the creators made it to where they can't get out. That might even be a more reasonable assumption. You and I were different because we have souls. Except that we're in a holding position right now. We're not in purgatory. We're in a holding position. A holding pattern, if you want to talk aviation. Because these guys are trying to work their bullshit and keep you stupid. That's what all of this confusion is to keep you from remembering who you were. No, I don't remember who I was. I don't. But this is the key to the thing here. Because what did Jesus tell the disciples? After Jesus died and was resurrected, he was walking down the road. Here's the story. And the disciples walked up to him, and they were really bummed out. And Jesus walked right up to him and said, "Hey, what's wrong with you guys?" And they said, "Well, haven't you heard? Jesus was crucified." And Jesus said, "Yeah, I heard it." And he said to him, "Well, what are you guys all bummed about? Didn't he tell you that he would rise and ascend to the Father?" And they said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, then what's wrong with you guys?" And in that minute, they remembered who he was by his words. Jesus told the disciples, "I will bring you into remembrance." Remembrance, because when you remember, you come back together. Because we don't know who we are or how the fuck we got here. It would be nice if the church put that out to the congregation, but they won't, see, because that scares people. And then you start losing parishioners, and when you lose parishioners, you lose money. And when you lose money, you lose revenue. When you lose revenue, you can't push your agenda because you don't have the money to keep pushing it. Go read the story when Jesus was crucified and he rose from the grave. By the way, when Jesus rose from the grave, he wasn't the only one that was walking around up here. There was a bunch of them. And a bunch of, that's documented stuff. We don't remember who we are. This is, in effect, somewhat like Tartarus. It's a place where you're here, you don't know where you came from, and you know somehow you got here, but you don't know. We only have the Bible to go by, and we fucked up in the first Earth Age. At least some of us. It says some of us came back here willingly to help the others. And no, I don't think I'm one of them guys. I don't need that on my head. One of the ones wants to be one of them guys, but he ain't one of those guys. All right? In my opinion, he isn't one of those guys. You're free to believe whatever you want to. Because anytime a man says, "Oh, you know, oh, I love everything I do for you guys. Oh, it's because I love you, blah, blah." Why are you asking that, man? You just got your reward. Because you're asking for your reward right there by having people go, "Man, you're great. You really do go out of your way." Who cares if you went out of your way? All this world is about time, so it isn't like you're wasting any of it or using up too much of it. Why do you want to be patted on the back, dude? If you have a real heartfelt, strong desire to do this, and I'm sick of doing it, but I keep trying, and I don't know why. Why do you want people to say, "Man, you're great"? And that guy, Scott Bug, underground believer. Underground believer. Gee whiz. Underground believer. What's underground? Now, if you ask a little kid where heaven is, he'll tell you, well, he'll point up to the sky. You ask a little kid where the devil is, he points to the ground. But this guy's an underground believer that walks around with a purple hat on, and he can't wait to tell you how much he loves you and how much he goes out of his way to help you. Scott Bug, underground believer. Do you need it explained to you any clearer than that? One of the ones. And Xeon, it's an anagram of the same group. Ask one of the ones what he's one of. And he won't tell you, because he can't tell you. Because if he tells you what he's one of, then he'll be giving himself away. There's that old word legion. I don't think it's a bunch of them. I think it's one with many personalities. But regardless, it works out to the same thing. Xeon and one of the ones is the same entity. The same group. Okay? And any of these other assholes that are putting a 1 at the end of their name. PG1. And, you know, the girl was a friend of mine, but, you know, regarding me 1, why would you call yourself regarding you 1 of what? It doesn't matter to me. I don't give a fuck what these things do. They're here, and they're there for one reason. To keep your head going round and round and round and round.